Remember when Vladimir Putin claimed he invaded Ukraine because NATO was getting too big and too strong in his own backyard? How'd that work out? Today, NATO formally invited Sweden and Finland to join its military alliance.
I commend all allies for moving so quickly in accepting Finland and Sweden's applications for membership. This is an historic day for Finland, for Sweden, for NATO, and for Euro-Atlantic security.
The Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky released this video today. He says it shows the moment a Russian missile, hit a crowded shopping center in central Ukraine on Monday. Zelensky says Moscow had wanted to kill as many people as possible in an act of what he called state terrorism. Ukrainian officials say the attack killed at least 18 and injured dozens of others.
Vladimir Putin this evening warned Russia would respond in kind if NATO's footprint expanded north. And he suggested he could pursue different tactics in Ukraine to achieve his goals, which he said have not changed.
NATO was getting two new friends, much to the chagrin of Vladimir Putin. I'm Yasmin Khan with Rebel HQ, and Finland and Sweden are officially in the process of being inducted into NATO, ending a decades-long stance of neutrality in Europe. Of course, Putin didn't want Finland or Sweden to join NATO because he thinks the Western nations are colluding against him and encroaching on his territory. Really, he brought this on himself, though. Had he not invaded Ukraine without any actual justification for doing so, Finland would not have been put on alert. Putin's primary reason for his attack on Ukraine has always been rooted in the fact that he was focused on expansion. He believes his role as the leader of Russia is to expand the territory, and in his particular case, in this period of time, that means recovering the Russian/Soviet territory that had been lost, like Ukraine. Finland was also once part of Russian territory, and they fought for their independence and won. And since that fight, Finland has been on high alert against another attack from Russia, but in an effort to maintain some sort of amiability with their neighbor, Finland maintained a position of neutrality. Now that neutrality hardly seems worth it. Ukraine never joined the alliance, and they were invaded. That's not to say that Putin wouldn't have invaded had they been a part of NATO necessarily, but it definitely would have been more of a hindrance against the decision.
So what does NATO's future look like?
Что никакого движения НАТО на восток дальше быть не должно.
Vladimir Putin started his war on Ukraine, demanding NATO roll back its borders to where they were in the 1990s, which was swiftly rejected. And nothing unites a group more than a common enemy.
If Kremlin's aim is to have less NATO on its borders, it will only get more NATO.
3 months later,
after 200 years of military non-alignment, Sweden has chosen a new path. Sweden and Finland submitted our formal requests to join NATO.
With the war still raging in Ukraine, NATO is expanding its reach all the way to the Russian border. In the past, Putin has threatened his neighboring nations, attempting to bully them into not joining the alliance. In Finland, Russia actually shut off the gas. Some saw this move as a bullying tactic, an attempt to pull some sort of rank over a nation that has been deemed to be dependent on Russia for something. The reason given for shutting off the gas had to do with payments, though. Due to sanctions against the Russian government imposed by Western nations, Russia declared that all payments made in exchange for gas would have to be made in rubles rather than dollars or euros. Several countries, including Finland, refused to comply with the new edict, so Russia cut them off. And unfortunately for Russia, gas only makes up about 5% of Finland's total energy use. In 2020, total energy consumption in Finland was primarily supplied through wood fuels at 28%. Hydropower and wind power also grew in production by 28% and 30% respectively. For the first time, sustainable energy sources overtook energy usage from both fossil fuels and peat combined in Finland. Finland has essentially demonstrated that when nations are no longer beholden to corrupt governments because they're dependent on them for their energy needs, it has significant impacts in the realm of politics, not to mention the impact that replacing fossil fuels with sustainable energy sources has on the environment. But for as quickly as this is all coming together, it could have happened a lot sooner. Turkey was holding up the process. Turkish President Erdogan was holding off because he claimed that Sweden was harboring Kurdish terrorists within its borders. The Kurds are known as being a people without a country. They're their own ethnic group, but when their part of the world was being carved out by foreigners, they weren't given any land. And so, the Kurds became minority citizens in several countries rather than the majority in their own country. And they've been involved in some sort of conflict ever since. They were actually crucial allies with the US at one point, serving as our boots on the ground in the struggle against the Islamic State. The Kurds in Turkey have been fighting for their independence, so the terrorists that Erdogan is worried about are separatists that have taken refuge in Sweden. In this NATO deal, Erdogan seized the opportunity that he saw. The Kurds were being used as a bargaining chip. As per the terms of Turkey's approval for the two countries to be admitted into the alliance, 73 Kurds will be extradited from Sweden to Turkey, a move that has some Kurds and some Swedes feeling betrayed. Now, Erdogan is hailing this negotiation as a diplomatic victory, which some say is all he was ever actually after. Overall, this is probably a good thing, and while most good things in this world don't come without some sort of sacrifice, the unfortunate truth is that more often than not, the people in the negotiating room aren't the ones making the sacrifices. It's a hell of a world that we live in. Now, that's it for now. Please like and subscribe this if it was fun for you. Thanks.